I define discipline as a system of rules used to maintain control.
I would define discipline as training people to obey rules, but also using it as a punishment for correct disobedience.
I define it as keeping people under control by training them to follow orders to the point.
Rules and regulations are important, I think, for a number of reasons, because it enables things to run smoothly and keeps jobs organised, therefore it's done to a high standard with less mistakes being made. And if one person's got one job to do, people are not getting confused and causing conflict between each other because everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I'd say they're needed to keep order in the workplace, so everybody knows what they're doing and nobody's confused about anything, like everything's done efficiently.
They can be used in like many different ways, like for everything you do in the workplace and also in your local society, but without rules it would just be chaotic.
I think also by rules being enforced, it shows the amount of respect you have for your authority. So if a sergeant's telling an officer to do something and they do it there and then, you're respecting that officer as well as being disciplined in following the rules as well.
They need to be followed because it could lead to someone getting seriously injured in the workplace. Say, for example, if you were at a firing range with the police and the guy had to say that you need to stand behind and you completely disobeyed it and stand like across the line, it could potentially lead to you getting killed or seriously injured.
As well as that, it also stops any confusion between different people. Say if one's told to go there and if you don't follow the orders, you could mix them up or both go to the same place.
And by one individual not following rules, everybody else thinks they don't have to then follow rules, so you're setting a standard for others to follow.
And it's just then
follow you
everybody
as
will just
well.
go, okay, he's not doing it, so why do we need to?
Yeah. An example of that is like in the Brixton riots in 1981, where conflict between the Met Police and rioters about South London social economical problems, where the rioters were looking after themselves and the police weren't doing it, which resulted in multiple casualties because the police weren't disciplining their officers, so they didn't know what they were doing. So everybody was conflicting between each other because nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they need to be disciplined to take abuse off people because
Yeah.
so because they were chucking things at them and shouting abuse at them, so that's why they need discipline. It's essential there.
Yeah.
And with discipline, they know they can't hit back or throw anything back or do anything. So without discipline, a lot more police will be fired or disciplined as it should.
But the police are the leading authority, so
Yeah.
the other rioters should know where they stand.
Yeah.
They should be following orders. There's nothing wrong with showing how you feel.
Yeah, protesting.
Yeah,
Peacefully
protesting.
protesting.
But you have to be peaceful and
Yeah,
show where you
right.
stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's public service.
So what are the consequences for the lack of discipline?
Nothing would really get done with it. Because you just think, well, nothing's going to happen if I don't do this, so
Yeah.
nothing gets done and then everything just goes wrong.
Yeah, it shows a certain amount of control, doesn't it, as well? Yeah. Yeah. But you can range from verbal ones, discipline. If you don't follow discipline, the police know what they have to follow.
Yeah.
So you'll have verbal warning, then a formal warning, so they know what's the system, what they're going through, so they know where they stand. They're not well, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Yeah, they know what's going to happen to them. How can it be used positively and negatively, discipline?
Also, you can give rewards.
Yeah.
Rewards and then punishments.
Rewards can be
Yeah.
given as promotion concepts. If you're
Promotion.
yeah.
Holidays.
You can also give too much discipline, which could lead to depression sometimes.
Just stress. And
Yeah. Lead to PSD.
Yeah. But
PTSD, sorry.
yeah, and I think it can be shown through a good sense of team spirit, and you've got pride in your service, and that can be shown through discipline. So you're setting your own standards in which people can then follow. But by having good team spirit and good discipline, it just shows a pride in your appearance, your self-discipline,
Yeah.
and your pride and the way you speak to people and stuff. Any legislation bits that we follow? So they follow the PACE Act, don't they?
Yeah, so yeah.
And that go wisely. So these are a set of rules officers must obey, in order to carry things out correctly. But it also like protects them, so they know where they stand. So if like a suspect complains against them,
Yeah.
they know where they
They
stand.
can say, I've done all,
Yeah.
I've gone through all the legislation, I've made sure I've done it in the law, and it just stops comments being made against them.
Yeah,
And it just makes it, anybody looks just, well, I followed the law.
but it shows good discipline because they're following their
Yeah.
rules to that
So
standard.
they could just go, no, I didn't follow them.
Yeah, you can say, I've got myself backed up here, this is what I
Yeah.
did. I said your grounds for search, your object for search and your warrant, and set it all set in
Yeah.
stone what I did right.
It can also make you, discipline can also make you feel like essential duty, like sense of duty and honour in your job. It can make you respect your job
Yeah.
and the colleagues that you work with. It's obviously very important in the public services because you're serving the public,
Yeah.
keeping them safe, obviously.
They're your main priority.
Yeah.
That should be your focus. In not just discipline, as in your sergeant or your superintendent disciplining you. You should be disciplining yourself
Yeah.
in order to make things run smoothly for yourself and your colleagues.
Yeah.
You're making life easier
Yeah.
for everybody and protecting the public,
Yeah.
which is your main priority. Yeah. Have you got any questions?
So overall, why would you say that discipline plays an important role in the various public services?
Why in each public service?
Yeah, so why overall?
Because it like keeps everybody in check and
Yeah.
they know what to do, no confusion.
When to do
When to do
Less mistakes to be made, which could result in like less casualties in life-threatening situations.